About 9 months ago, I filmed this video where I ranked every single West End marquee, and I'm pretty sure within that video I mentioned about potentially doing it with Broadway theatres. Well, I'm finally getting around to doing that. After doing my fun facts video, I realised, wait, I have fairly up-to-date photos of all of the Broadway marquees. So despite never seeing a single one of them in person, I'm going to now rank every single Broadway marquee. So I'm going off photos, I'm going off imagery, I'm going off vibes. Who is going to be at the top? Which theatre is going to be at the bottom? Let's find out. But if you haven't seen my face before, hi, I'm Ellie, I talk about theatre. I am the most chaotic theatre person on the internet. I do reviews, I do discussions, I do rankings, versus brackets, game shows, and so much more. And if any of that sounds interesting to you, please consider hitting like and subscribe. It really helps me, it helps out the channel. But let's dive in to the Broadway marquee ranking. So, obviously, I've never been to Broadway, I'm going off photos and photos alone. Which means, you know, for the West End one, I'd been to all of those theatres, I could speak about little offhand corners, I could speak about little additional details. I'm going to go off, like, the main bulk of the building. I've tried to do my due diligence. Is that how you pronounce due diligence? I've tried to do my duty to look up all the different areas, but essentially what we're marking right now is the outside of the building, where they have the show posters and how it looks. We're ranking it on, like, how they use the posters to make it look pretty. We're ranking it based on the architecture. You know, some theatres in the West End, when we ranked the West End ones, like, they didn't really have many poster boards or anything, but they got higher marks because the buildings just look gorgeous, like a Theatre Royal Drury Lane, you know? And we're going to go in alphabetical order of all 41 current Broadway theatres. I'm ranking them close enough with the show that's currently in there. I think for most Broadway theatres, it doesn't actually really matter. There is one Broadway theatre where I'm very purposely not speaking about the show that's currently there. I think if you put 2 and 2 together, I think you can probably realise why. It's a shame for that building, because I do admit it looks very pretty now, and it's going to probably be further down in the rankings than it would be. But hey, I feel like my integrity is better than speaking about a show I do not wish to give any airtime to. So we're going to go alphabetical order. We're going to start with the Al Hirschfeld. Now, obviously, I'm going to rank these adjacent to each other, so at this point, the only thing on the list is the Al Hirschfeld, so I mean, it's at the top and at the bottom immediately. But when we add more theatres to this, I do think the Al Hirschfeld's going to go far, okay? I do believe it. I think it's a very pretty building, and I think it's one of the ones that is definitely helped with the show that's currently in there. Moulin Rouge looks great on that building. I do think the West End marquee is stronger though, but we're not ranking adjacent to West End, so that doesn't matter. I still like it. I also think this is actually one that gains points for some of its actual decor as well. While the building is fairly, you know, it's okay. It's fine. It's a building. It's not the most gorgeous architecturally, sure, but I really love the illustration of Al Hirschfeld on that building. I love the neon colours of it. I think it really makes that marquee pop. I really do enjoy it. Next up, we have the ambassadors. Now, is this going to be higher or lower than the Al Hirschfeld? That's the question, because I do actually quite like Chicago's building. I think the flags on it are quite nice. I actually like some of the architecture here. I think the main panel, the main ambassadors bit of that marquee that you can see is actually quite pretty. But I don't think it is better than the Al Hirschfeld. But, like, it looks good. It looks nice. I think this is going to be like a fairly decent theatre. It's not like when I think about a Broadway marquee and I'm like, what's the best one? I don't immediately think of the ambassador, but yeah, like, it's nice. It's serviceable. It does its job. I like the flags. I think without the flags, it would probably be, like, fine. But with the flags, it's a nice extra touch that probably makes it just above average. But I don't think it's better than the Al Hirschfeld. The August Wilson. Now, I really, really love the theatres that have the signature of the person that it's named after. You're going to see that's going to earn points. That's going to earn a lot of points for some theatres, and it earns points for the August Wilson. It looks gorgeous. It looks so stunning. It adds an extra personal touch to the theatre, and I enjoy that. Now, this is currently themed around the Kit Kat Club, so a lot of its like details and a lot of its touches are quite plain at the moment, which I'm trying to weigh up in my mind. How much do I give it points for sticking to the theme, and how much do I give it points for, you know, not looking the most pretty? I do think there's some good points on this building to get some photos with, especially because of some of the cabaret decal, some of the cabaret decor, like the big eye signs and stuff. I actually think this is stronger than the West End version, especially because, oh my god, I went to Cabaret again the other week for their big gala night for their 15,000 performance, 1,500. They've done so many, and they've done 2,000 worldwide if you include Broadway as well. There was a worldwide celebration, but like the tree in front of that building is so overgrown that it's like covering up the main sign. It's like I want to see the cabaret. This is speaking about West End. This is off topic. I just wanted to rant. Please cut back that tree a bit more. But the August Wilson, I think some of the touches does mean I like it more than the Ambassador, but I think the Ambassador is like a good baseline, because I think these are very on par. I think these two will stick together throughout this ranking. I'm going to leave it like this. I'm going to leave it with the August Wilson higher. I don't know if that's wrong, but I'm going with it. I'm sticking with it. I can change it later. This ranking can change. We're going to move things around at the end, and maybe more theatres will come in, and I'll be like, why did I place that there? I'm such a weirdo. Next up, okay, so we're getting very classic Broadway marquee with the Belasco. I like it. It's nice. I think this type of theatre, where like you've got like the signs on either end, they're good for photos, especially on the streets. Like just standing right by the building, side of the road, get a nice photo of it. I think you can get these with a lot of different Broadway theatres, like Stephen Sondheim, like a Neil Simon, you know, these kind of ones that have like the blocky cover. This is such a weird way to phrase it. But I think this is just classic. I mean, it has one of those big signs with like the lit up names. It's cute. I think the colours look nice. It's just not... I feel like it's missing something, you know? I feel like maybe it's just because like I only get to see a little bit of the poster on there. Maybe it's just because of that. But I feel like right now this is probably the weakest. But I think so far we've had some of the strongest ones. I don't think this will end up being that low, but yeah, I feel like I just want a couple more things. Maybe even just having like another poster board on the front would bring us all together. Tie it together with a neat little bow. I want more purples. Yeah, I want more purples. But I will admit the architecture of this building, very pretty. Now, there's a lot of Broadway theatres that were made all around the same time, so they look almost identical. Like the Booth and the Gerald Schoenfeld are so close in design. The Bernard B. Jacobs and the John Golden, like they look almost identical. I'm gonna stick to doing this alphabetically. But when we hit these theatres again that I feel like look similar, they're probably going to rank in very similar places unless the current tenant has added some extra sprucing touches to it, you know? And I think the Bernard B. Jacobs looks nice. I think it looks okay. Am I writing home about it though? Am I like, wow, this is the most gorgeous Broadway theatre? Not really. I like some of these details, and I think it's going to place very similar to where the Belasco is, but do I prefer the Belasco? I feel like I need to zoom in. Where's my phone? I need another look. Because I mean, when I'm thinking of like a classic Broadway theatre, this is kind of in line with like a lot of like the classic design. I like the windows, I like the panels, even if they do look a little bit. I'm just not a big fan of the colours. Just not gonna lie, not a big fan of the colours. I do think the outside looks great on that building. I think it looks very pretty, but yeah, I feel like right now I'm leaning more towards Belasco. Honestly, if they use like the panel, there is literally a panel on the Belasco where they could put like a band and put some stuff about maybe Happy Ending on there. Maybe they've got outdated photos, but they used it for Gough and the North Country. If they can use it for Gough and the North Country, why can't you put like a little band just saying like Darren Criss starring and make it purple? It would bring it all together. Yeah, I feel like because of that, I'm gonna put Bernard B. Jacobs above it. But the colours of the windows throwing me off. I think these are very on par. Right now I'm gonna put Jacobs below it. There you go. Executive decision. I may switch them around. The booth. I love the design of the booth. I'm not gonna lie. The booth looks stunning. I think you have these two sections of the building that look so cool. And I think it's the theatre that gets to have its cake and eat it too, because it has like the really classic design of like that main section where you have like the stick out marquee bits. You know, it's currently bright pink for John Proctor as the villain. Looks great, but also has that classic architecture and the touches of it all. Gorgeous, stunning, outstanding, love it. But then you also have like the side of the building with these absolutely gorgeous paneling. These fine, beautiful touches and like the main poster banner thing. I think it's a theatre that strikes the perfect balance between showing off the architecture and showing off the marquee. And I think that's why I really, really like it. I also really like the theatre that it looks very similar to, but we'll speak about that a little bit later. So I think the booth goes high. I think I like it more than like the four here. Like, it's definitely either here or here. Do I like it more than Moulin Rouge? I actually would say yes. I don't know if that's controversial. I don't know if people are going to be mad at me. I like the touches on the building, but I think it's the architecture of the booth that just takes it slightly over for me. Because yeah, all the touches on the Al Hirschfeld, it looks nice, it looks good, but I don't like the actual building that it's covering stuff up on. Here, I love the building, I love the posters, it looks very pretty. Mwah, gorgeous. Let's move on. The Broadhurst. Again, we're going to have like a couple of theatres now. The theatres that start with the letter B, forget the Belasco and the Bernard Jacobs. Shh, forget about them. The theatres that begin with B, I actually really, really like. We're getting like a lot of my favourites here. I think that the Broadhurst looks really pretty. And I think part of that might just be the colour scheme of Boop. Like, the red and white actually looks really nice upon this building. I love the panels that they've got along the side there. I love the flares coming down and the Betty Boop of it all. I love the main structure. But I think the show that's currently there has used this marquee very well. And you know what? This is the theatre that I would look at and I would go, yes, we could go see Boop. It's very pretty. It's very pretty. I don't think it's like the most outstanding theatre. I don't think it's the most outstanding marquee, but I think the show that is currently there is using what they've got extremely well. And because of that, I feel like it just, I mean, I would place it there right now. Maybe it could go just below the August Wilson, because I feel very similarly to it than I do the Ambassador. But I just think the current tenant looks a bit nicer. Is this a tiny little thing to use? Yes, but it's a ranking. What else are you expecting? I'm nitpicking here. I'm nitpicking here, there, and everywhere. And I think Boop looks very cute. The Broadway. The Broadway Theatre. The theatre named for Broadway. And I think that this is one of the most unique and prettiest marquees. Now, we have to speak about the screens of it all, because I think I have to deduct some points from this theatre, because the screens kind of make any photo you get look a little bit weaker. But look at this building. The greens, I love the outline in it. I love the classic like art decor design. It matches so well to Gatsby that's currently there, which I love the theming of your show to your tenant and like the building to your tenant. Was it purposeful? Probably not. The marquee was designed before Gatsby, but it just clicks. It's wonderful. I think it looks pretty. I honestly haven't been speaking much about like the actual names and where they're placed onto the building, except obviously when it's the signature of the artist, but I think the Broadway font looks great. I think it sells showbiz. It screams Broadway, not just because it's named the Broadway Theatre. I think this looks very pretty. I think I prefer the booth. But I think that is partly because they are working with what they've kind of got. Like, the Broadway marquee is working with like the tiniest little slither of building, whereas the booth has like so much space. So it can show off more of the architecture and the pretty design and everything. But I do think the Broadway looks great. It's just held back a little bit by some of the screens and everything. Oh, the circle in the square. I love the circle in the square. Everything that is pictured from the inside of the circle of the square, I love. It's kind of working with so little though, and I feel bad, right? Because most of its space is taken up by the Gershwin. It's the Gershwin's building, and then like the circle in the square is just kind of there, attached. It's like, it's so funny when I was looking at a lot of the images, it's like Wicked is taking up like the massive side panel, and then like a tiny little square at the bottom is just in time. And it's like, this kind of represents how much space the circle in the square gets. It's given like these tiny little poster boards. Honestly, if I'm going to compare it to any theatre in London, like, it's kind of a bit like the arts, but even the arts gets like a little bit more to play with. And the arts was like down towards the bottom of my ranking, and I do think the circle and square is also going to go towards the bottom. It just hasn't got the space to work with. You know, I think it looks nice, but it can't really do anything, and I feel bad. But also, I have to speak about what they present, and what's presented here. I can't say I'm a fan. Like, hold those two poster boards up next to like the Broadway marquee, and it's just night and day. It's sad. Give give this theatre an actual bigger marquee. That's my petition. Sign it in the description. Next up, the Ethel Barrymore. This is one that the architecture is like gaining at so many points, because that like lattice front looks so pretty. It looks so pretty, and it's so unique as well. I think how they place the shows onto the building is fine. Is like nothing too special. I think right now Othello's just closed or is still open. I don't know, but like that's the latest tenant that I have a photo of, and yeah, like I'm not writing home about how they've placed and advertised that show, which probably should lose it some points, but I love the design of the building. I think it looks extremely pretty. See, it's funny because I do think all of these shows here use the actual marketing of the show more, but I would say like the architecture is better than the ambassador. And I honestly think the architecture on this building is better than the Broadhurst, but the Broadhurst is using the show better. So this is the battle. Am I leaning more towards architecture or how they're marketing the show and the actual like pieces of the marquee that are up? Because I mean, we're ranking the frontages, we're ranking it all. It all has to come into conjunction. So I feel like these two are like very on par, and I feel like it's just a case of one being higher than the other. Honestly, I'm very surprised that the August Wilson is getting so high. I could probably move that one down. I might, honestly. Right now, I'm gonna place it just below the August Wilson, but just above the Broadhurst. I feel like that's a kind of fair placement. That's how I kind of feel. I think the architecture in that structure is very, very cool, but if it actually used the marquee section better, I feel like this could actually go above the Al Hirschfeld. And as I said, I can change my mind. I can change it later. I'm going to look at all of this again later, and maybe stuff will move up, maybe stuff will come down. We're going to adjust. It's flexible. It's flexible. If I've made a mistake, I have time to change it. The Eugene O'Neill looks fine. It's okay. I think it's quite a nice theatre. I think the lights on it especially make it look very pretty. Um, but it's not one that I'm like raving about. I actually quite like a lot of the architecture in this building, like that paneling, like that grating. That's the best way I can describe it. I've put it on screen and I've circled it. However, I'm doing that, but like the actual like fire escapey balcony bit looks very pretty. The actual marquee is very safe. It's very like what you would expect. It's the classic, you know, wraps around the building, looks nice if you're taking a photo of it on the street. But like it's nice, it's serviceable. I'd probably put it around here-ish. Um is it better than like the Belasco? I feel like it's a bit more cohesive right now than the Belasco, because the Belasco just kind of has the two points of the poster, and I'm like, I don't really feel like I'm wrapped into maybe happy ending. I don't feel like it's popping quite as much. Whereas Book of Mormon at the Eugene O'Neill feels like it's popping off that marquee a bit more than that. So yeah, let's place it there. Let's place it just below the ambassador. I like that placement. I'm okay with that placement. Gershwin. Now, because Wicked takes up almost all of this space on that building, this is where I'm more so going to actually bring the architecture in the building into the question, because yeah, the circular square is just kind of like a little tiny subsection, like a little tiny addition to that building from what I can see from photos. Like, the main gist of that building is taken up by Wicked. The Wicked band is at the bottom. The Gershwin logo is on there. The big sign is for Wicked. You've got the Wicked decal here, there, and everywhere. And I will say it looks very pretty. It looks great in green as well. I also don't think it looks too much like a theatre, and that's where we're kind of getting into this point. Like, I think out of like all of the Broadway marquees, this looks the least like a theatre. Maybe it's like the parking sign that's throwing me off here. But I do like a lot of the Wicked touches. I think it does look nice. Like, right now I'm leaning, like, below the Burnaby Jacobs, which is weird, because I thought this one would rank higher. Am I being too mean? Maybe I am. I think it looks pretty, but I think I'm missing some of these touches that I like in these other ones. Like, as much as I can say about, like, the Belasco and the Burnaby Jacobs, like, they feel more like theatres to me. Instead of, like, buildings that look nice, but they just kind of look like they've had show posters kind of shoved onto them in the tiny little sections where it can go onto them. Yeah, I'm not overly enthralled by the Gershwin. I'm gonna place it slightly lower. We come to the Gerald Schoenfeld, and I don't think it's as pretty as the booth, but I think these two kind of go quite hand in hand. I like a lot of the touches, especially with Buena Vista Social Club. Like, it looks great. The orange looks really nice in that building. I like the little poster above the entrance. Although I do wish that was a more, like, solid show poster. They even had it with, like, Comfort Way when Comfort Way was in there. It was like, it's had text in it, and I was like, that's kind of like the main entrance. I wish, like the booth, that was like a main poster. Like, I'd even take, like, the bit of marquee that kind of sticks out the side, the general Broadway marquee, as I'm calling it, as I'm dubbing it, that is this kind of towards the side of the building near all the balconies and fire escapes. Like, I wish that's where you kind of had more of, like, the text and more of, like, the themed showpieces, and, like, the main section of the building was the poster. But hey, tiny details here. I think it looks really pretty. I think the architecture is pretty. I think I like these three theatres more, which is weird because the booth is, like, the closest to it. But whereas, like, the side of the building, you get that gorgeous the booth theatre sign, you get the architecture there. I feel like I'm more sold by this than that one. And I like a lot of the touches in this building. I do think the architecture is better on the Gerald Schoenfeld than the Al Hirschfeld, but I think some of these details are the ones where I'm going, okay, I like that more. This could go up. I could see it maybe going up, like, one more space. But right now I'd place it there. Place it fourth. It's a good fourth so far. The Helen Hayes Theatre is nice. I don't have too much more to say, honestly. This is kind of like an okay marquee. Similar feeling to, like, the Burnaby Jacobs or, like a Belasco. Like, it's fine. It's nice. Like, this is one of the smaller Broadway theatres. But, like, one of my favourite touches on this theatre is, like, the orange kind of hanging thing. There's a word for that. Like, the architecture is, like, nothing I'm writing home about. I think Purpose right now in there looks okay. I don't think the white really brings out anything about the building. I think this building is nicer with some other shows that have been there in the past. Like, Jersey Boys look really nice in that building. But I'm not overly enthralled by it. I would probably place it... I mean, for everything I can say about the Gershwin, I do think the Gershwin's marquee... I'm battling between these two. Right now, I'm gonna leave the Hayes just above, but I think that's close, and I could bring the Gershwin up. Okay, the Hudson Theatre. This is one of the oldest Broadway theatres. It's been renovated many a time, and I think it looks quite nice. I think it's pretty. Is it simple? Yeah. Does it have, like, one poster section? Sure. I think the architecture looks gorgeous here, though. I love the section where it has, like, the Hudson engraved into the building. I love the colours and the windows. I love some of those pieces above the windows, like the weird face. The weird face that you can see. That looks cool. I think it's a very classy looking theatre. It's a theatre that looks like you step in and you're like, this is a theatre. And I love that slickness. I love that touches in those details. I do think brings it up above some others. Even though, like, when we're speaking about how it's branded itself, like, it's not that incredible. Like, it's simple. It's very simple. So I don't think it can go, like, too high, but I think the architecture is doing a lot for this one, which would probably place it maybe just, like, here, maybe just above. I think the ambassadors, like, I'm not enthralled by a lot of this, by the building underneath, but I do think this brands itself better. But I mean, last 5 years is, like, a limited run. Like, this theatre does a lot of limited runs as well, so it's not going to be one that's going to, like, go above and beyond. And it doesn't really have the space to go massively above and beyond. I think the screen and that kind of do enough with this building. And also, you don't kind of want to plaster this with so many posters. It's kind of not the theatre for that. I mean, honestly, you're pushing on it. I actually do like it more than, like, the Eugene O'Neill. I think it looks quite pretty. It's very similar to, like, my feelings on the Theatre Roy Drury Lane, where, like, the building looks stunning, gorgeous. Is there, like, one poster? Is there, like, one show poster? And, like, a screen? Sure. But you gotta admit that building looks pretty. I don't see this being, like, massively high at the end of the day, but I think right now I can kind of justify here. The Imperial. There's a lot on this building I like, and there's a couple of little details that I'm not enthralled by. I think this is a theatre where, like, it's kind of shoving a lot of the marquee to the side. It has, like, the main kind of sticky out screen board, which obviously right now smashes closed, so the photo I have of it is this pink tick thing. I don't know what it is. I assume some kind of placeholder, but it would normally say smash, so I'm not going to judge it for that. Same with the Niederlander, which you'll see later. Does not have any show logos or branding on it, but I'm not going to judge it too harshly on that. Like, the actual touches are quite nice. I like the poster at the side, but I do think this is kind of, it's weirdly tucked away a bit. But I think, like, the actual Imperial section on that sticky LT Broadway marquee thing, there is a name for this, and if it's obvious I don't know the name for it. Does it have, like, an actual name beyond marquee? Surely it does. But it looks so good. It looks so good. I love the design here. The black and the gold mixing together, the lettering and the font on there, gorgeous and stunning. It has a very striking look that I feel like makes it look very unique, and I love a theatre that has a unique look while still maintaining, like, that classic Broadway theatre. Like, I like little touches, and I feel like this is a theatre that has so many great little touches on there, which I do think is going to rank it higher. I mean, honestly, a lot of my feelings on this line up quite well to the Barrymore, but I feel like this theatre brands itself a little bit better. You know, I'd put it above the August Wilson as well. I feel like it's slightly stronger than that. Do I like it more than the Gerald Schoenfeld? I think that's where I'd maybe stop. I could maybe push it up one more slot. You know what, screw it, I will. You know what, this is my ranking. I can change it later if I feel like it's wrong. I'll put the Imperial in 4th. But a lot of that heavy lifting is coming from, like, the actual design. Less so, like, the show and the show marketing, but more, like, the actual design of how they've set up that marquee there. It looks stunning. It looks beautiful. It's so pretty. I like pretty things. What can I say? Next up, this is one of the theatres that's going to find its placement shot up because of how much the show that's currently there has made that building feel like its own. And that is the John Golden. Not only have they taken down, like, the normal boards and replaced them with these, like, suitcases, but they've also, like, covered up the windows with the actual, like, logo of Operation Mincemeat. It looks really nice with, like, the golden lights and the yellow light bulbs shining down. It's like, it's this little hub for the yellow show. It looks so good. I feel like over here, we have a lot more theatres like this that will, like, use a lot of the space and add, like, extra additional touches. You think of something like Moulin Rouge adding the windmill onto the building. You think of, like, a Palace Theatre where they always put, like, something weird up on that marquee. Like, they had the Chalice for Spamalot, or the Giant Cosette for Les Mis. Or, you know, High Heels, where we also have the Palace and the Dominion that have put high heels onto their building. Like, we like weird touches like that in London, but Broadway it's kind of rarer to see, which is very funny that the British show that has come over has transformed a lot of the theatre and made it feel really cool. I think it looks great. I think it looks really, really cool. It's like all of these little additional touches that have, like, refined it and made a theatre that I feel like would have been very in line with, like, you know, the Burnaby Jacobs, which it looks, it's like a twin. It's like a twin sister to it, literally right next to each other. They're very similar buildings, but, like, all of these little touches have just, like, upped it very far. I would place this about here. Honestly, I feel very similar to Moulin Rouge here. Actually, I put it above Moulin Rouge. I think the touches look so good. I think the touches look really, really nice, which have transformed a marquee that I'd probably say was okay into a marquee that looks really, really strong. And a marquee that also looks great in photos. I have not seen a single person take a bad photo of the John Golden at the moment with Operation Mincemeat in there. It always looks stunning. It always looks so good. The James Earl Jones Theatre is a theatre that doesn't have too much marketing around like the shows that are in there, but the building just looks so pretty. The one thing I'll say, while I do really love the touch that the original name is on that building, God, that must be confusing for people. Like a lot of the theatres where you can still see like a previous name in London, the names are kind of hidden around the back. Whereas this, it says like the Court Theatre on the building, and then below it is the James Earl Jones. Where, honestly, if I'm looking at it, the James Earl Jones, I like the placement, but it's so split up that if I was looking for this theatre, I probably would go, oh, that's the Court Theatre. Where's the James Earl Jones? With all that said and put to the side, I'm not going to judge it too harshly on that because I really love this building. The architecture of it looks stunning. I love this cream colour. I love this design. It looks so elegant. It's another one like the Hudson that I feel looks really, really classy. Again, putting those feelings about like the naming convention on the theatre aside, I really actually do quite like how they split the James Earl Jones across that Marquee section. Those lights look great, the colour of it, I think it all comes together. This is going to be a really surprising one to go high. For that, I'd probably place it like here or here. I think the architecture of it is probably going to pull it higher than the Hirschfeld, while this themes itself to the show a little bit stronger. I do think the architecture of this building is just so stunning. It looks so pretty. It's gorgeous. It looks unique while still feeling very much like a Broadway theatre. Is it controversial if I say the Lena Horne is fine? I don't know. This is like one of the first Broadway theatres that I saw like The Outsider. Like if I'm thinking back to when I was starting to really get into Broadway theatres, it was shows like Waitress, and like I started with like Hamilton and Heathers, but like I remember very vividly like the first time I was like looking at images online of Broadway theatres, it was Waitress at the Brooks Atkinson, which is now the Lena Horne, which is probably why I very much think of like that design as like the main Broadway structure, because this again is very similarly set out to something like the Burnaby Jacobs, like the John Golden, like even little touches of the Belasco, like that main kind of Broadway theatre structure of like the thrust out bit with the show posters, and then on either side of the main marquee you have like the big rectangles with a show poster in there. I think 6 gains points for the glitter board. I think whenever 6 is a glitter board, it looks very good. And what I will say about it as well is like the little touches of purple along the front really do make this pop. So out of like these ones, I do think it's the strongest. I would say like there at the moment. Like I think it's in this kind of section here, but I think the little touches of the purple placement, but they kind of fit into like the 6 style of like the purple, like that deep purple with the golden decals on it. I'm comfortable with it going there. Like, I could probably give like a reason or two maybe that could go above the Hudson, but I think it's like very strong example of like a classic looking Broadway theatre. Speaking of classic looking Broadway theatres, the Longacre. I want to like the Longacre more than I feel like I do like this Marquee. Again, I think it's gonna land very much within like this section here. It's like this kind of feeling. I actually quite like the main poster board bit with like the 2 panels in the center. But like if you stand like right across the street from the theater and get like a photo, that's the only place where you're not gonna get a really great one. But like if you're on the same side of the street and getting like a photo with the Longacre, you can probably get like a really strong one. So like I like that, and I like how that's lit up as well. It looks very pretty. I like the main structure. I like some of the architecture, but like I feel like when I'm comparing it to like a booth where I'm like, yes, the architecture's stunning, I'm not like as enthralled by it. And also, when we're speaking specifically about how Dead Outlaw's gone into that building, I don't really feel like it's a boot situation where I'm like, that marquee very much fits that theatre. That show's marketing and posters and everything really suits that theatre. So I'm kind of in a placement where I'm like, yeah, it kind of lands about here, but like I'm not quite sure where. I could probably go there and be okay with it. Like I feel like in my heart of hearts, I want it to be more here. But when I'm like judging it across other things, I feel like it's more there. The Lunt Fontan Theatre. This, like Boop, is a theatre that is really being helped by the show that's currently in there, because I feel like the purples of that theatre, how they light it as well, and like how they like those windows really brings it together. I'm hoping that I can find a photo right now of it because it just looks stunning. It looks so pretty. It's not my favorite architecture of a Broadway theatre, but I do like a lot of the touches. Like I love that golden paneling along the top there. I think the posters look really cool, and like the banners as well. A bit similar to my feelings on Chicago and Boop with those. Like I feel like actually, like I when I've seen them in the past, I've never really been enthralled by it. But like the shows that are currently using the banners, they look really nice. Can't lie. Can't lie. And I think the main board, that screen, yeah, I'm not like the biggest fan of screens, but I think that's like a nice placement to put one. I feel like the Lunt-Fontanne is going to be like a middling high. I think a lot of its touch of how it sets itself up is very similar to the Broadhurst, but I feel like the actual architecture is just what kind of brings it over the edge slightly. Honestly, I could see an argument of it going there as well, actually. Like, just above the August Wilson. Like, because I don't really love how they put the show posters onto there. Even though I'd argue that I like that architecture more than this. But I mean, I really only just like that paneling bit. The rest of it just kind of looks a bit, eh. maybe I'm giving too much niceness to the Ethel Barrymore just because of one little paneling section. Maybe I am. But it's pretty paneling, what can I say? Yeah, I'm going to place it above the August Wilson. That feels higher than I thought it would go, but I'm going to go with that for now. Okay. I think we're about halfway now. We're about halfway through. So, let's keep going. Let's keep going. This video is going to be so long. Next up, we have the Lyceum Theatre. This is a theatre that doesn't really have like lows and lows around their current tenants. I think the yellow adds a really nice touch currently with O'Mary. They obviously have their main screen bits, but the main bulk of the work, the real savior of the Lyceum and why it's going to rank high, is this architecture. Look at those columns. Look at those columns. They look gorgeous. Are you not stunned? I'm stunned. The little details on them, the paneling and everything, it looks absolutely gorgeous. I think when I'm speaking about the theatre, if I was ranking these like not at all on how they've like placed posters across the building, if I was ranking these like solidly just on architecture, I think this is my favourite. I think this, at least so far with what I've done so far, this is my favourite. And I feel like that's going to rank high. Like right now, even though I feel like Operation Mincemeat brands itself better onto that building, I do think this is prettier. I do think that is more gorgeous. I honestly also think it's prettier than the Broadway. Am I placing it there? That feels like a weird placement because like when we're speaking about how it's like actually put the posters up onto there, like it's not the one I'm most enthralled by, but I think this architecture is just so gorgeous, so pretty. Yeah, I'm gonna go with it there. People might be mad at me, but I feel like this is a thing that doesn't really need loads and loads of posters. What it's got is just enough. It's very, very pretty. Next up is the Lyric Theatre. This is going to be the only theatre where I'm not going to speak about its current tenant. This is a choice that I have made on my channel. I don't discuss this certain show in London, nor will I discuss it on Broadway either. Not while the creator of it is currently campaigning and lobbying to eradicate my rights. So that's a decision I've made. Let's continue on without discussing that show. The Lyric's actual design is quite nice. Now, obviously, I'm going off quite an old photo here. This is when Young Frankenstein was in the building, which I think was around 2009, if I remember correctly. But it's not like there's like loads and loads of poster boards here. I want more posters, I want more flash, I want a big logo. But like the actual architecture of the building, pretty nice. Can't lie. I love the touches of the title of the theatre and the name being embedded into the marquee as well. Similar to something like the Court or even parts of the Hudson as well. It looks very, very nice. I like the lights kind of adjoining these doors. That's what I want from it. You know, just a little bit more flash. But the actual design of the building is quite pretty. I would place it... I mean, I've got a similar argument to, like, the Hudson, but I think the Hudson looks nicer and classier, and I think, you know, it obviously has the better poster boards and everything, so I'm honestly more tempted to pull it quite a bit further down. Like, I'd probably place it maybe about here, but even, like, the Ambassador shows off Chicago stronger. I even think, like, that shows off it stronger. Like, I like this detailing. I like the building. I'm gonna place it there. I feel like that's quite harsh, and I feel like that's lower than I wanted it to be. But when I'm comparing it, I'm trying to find a right place for it. That's kind of where my gut is telling me to go. The Majestic Theatre. It's very pretty. Is it simple? Yeah, it's absolutely one of the more simple theatres. But I think it looks great with the Order Gypsy sign on there now. I think all of these touches on it look great. I like the colour change on the Majestic sign. It's another one that looks very classy. And I feel like it places like around here. I think something like 6, I may place it just below because I feel like the 6 branding on there looks just a little bit nicer. Whereas this is a little bit more simple. I feel like being just above the Eugene O'Neill feels right for me. Let's go there. I like the design, I like a lot of the classiness of it, but that's where I place it. Oh, the Marquee Theatre. It's got so little space to work with, similar to something like the Circle in the Square. Like, if I was ranking this based on when you went up the escalator and saw the inside of the building, I think it would maybe be higher, but sadly, I'm ranking just what's outside, so I think Stranger Things is fine. It fits right in here. It's like a mini poster, especially when you compare this to what they do in the West End with it. Like, I want a little bit more. I want a little bit more. I can't really judge too much of the architecture because mainly it is suited to be around that building, around the hotel that it's a part of. But like, it looks okay. It's not nothing I'd write home about, which is maybe why I'd pull it just below something like the Haze. Honestly, I even like Wicked a bit more than this Marquee. I would place it there. That's harsh. It feels harsh, but I'm not sold by it. But like, if I was speaking about when you went up those escalators and saw the giant Stranger Things house, my god, this would be a completely different story. Now, the Minskoff Theatre, I am going to discuss both like the actual main section and when you just kind of slightly enter, because from what I can tell from photos, you like enter and there's this like little pathway into the building that is still kind of outside. That looks really pretty. That looks very gorgeous. The actual main like frontage, I could take it or leave it. It looks okay. Again, very comparable to like these ones here, but I feel like that little entrance pulls it just enough to be like here-ish, maybe? Like, I like a lot of the lights, I like the design, I like some of the architecture there, but like, I feel like it's the actual like main marquee that is holding this one back so much. I don't really like the design of this building too much. Like these weird grey panels, like it's like, hold that up to like the Lyceum, ironically where Lion King is in the West End, but we're speaking about the Broadway Lyceum. Like, compare it to the Lyceum and it's like eh eh. Honestly, I could put it lower. I could put it lower even. But I feel like once you actually start to enter into the space, it does look nice. But I'm not a big fan. I would actually place it lower. I would actually place it. Mm, 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 mm. But it does look pretty when you start to enter. But I feel like it's being really held back by the main section. It's better than Wicked. Let's go there. There, I can change it later if I want to. Just above the Helen Haze. Just above the Haze. Now, if we've learned anything through this Marquee ranking, you know that I love theatres with little additional details that really bring things together. And the music box has a really unique detail with, like, it almost gives me, like, a 50s diner kind of vibe. Like, are you feeling that with, like, the logo design of the music box? It looks so good. Is it simple? Yes. But the touches that it has on there are so pretty that I kind of have to rank it higher. I'm not like the biggest fan of some of this architecture. Like, the balconies look okay, and like the building looks fine. Like, it's not like the prettiest building in the world, but like the actual marquee bit, which is kind of what I'm holding the most weight towards in this ranking, or at least trying. The Lyceum is kind of going against that rule a bit, but the main board, the logo and everything, the yellows and the greens of it all, it looks so nice. And honestly, it looked quite nice Dorian Gray in there as well. And if we're thinking about previous shows, I think it looked nice with the blues of Evan Hansen. I think it looked very, very nice with the purples of Suffs as well. I would go there. just above Moulin Rouge, but just below the James L. Jones, because I have similar opinions on that actually. Like the James L. Jones doesn't have like too many posters, but like neither does the Music Box. But I like both of these designs. These are like, I like these for similar reasons, so it makes sense they're in a similar place. The Niederlande Theatre, obviously, it's not branded towards a show at the moment. The photo I got fairly recently was like this blue paneling thing, which I think is just a placeholder because Redwood closed early. I like the poster boards, I like where they're placed. It feels like a more grandiose version of like some of these ones here. Like, I think the boards here are like a similar design of like that thrust out marquee, but it feels like bigger. Is here a weird placement? I'm going to place it there, just above the leader horn. I could maybe swap those around. I feel like if there was a show in here right now, it would probably look more justified. But I'm trying to forget that it's not really branded towards a show at the moment. Like, if I'm just kind of forgetting that and putting that to one side and thinking about shows that have been there before, like Shut, like Pretty Woman, like even Rent, which like completely changed the building and like the color scheme, but like we're thinking about those shows and putting those into the thought process here as well, I would place it just above the Lena Horn. The Neil Simon. This is my least favorite banner out of all of the banners on Broadway theaters. I just don't think it looks that cool. I mean, I don't even think it looks that necessary, honestly. Like, without that banner, it would probably place like there, maybe. Like, it's a similar design to these ones, but I think the actual like logo of like the Neil Simon looks really nice on there as well. With that banner, put it down to like there. The Neil Simon just doesn't look too amazing, personally. The architecture's okay. I like the reds for MJ on there right now, but honestly, it doesn't feel as bright as it should. Like, especially in some of these photos I'm looking at, like, I don't know if it's just these photos, but the colour feels like more washed out than it should be as well. I think I was expecting more. But maybe it's because the theatre that MJ is in London is one of my favourite architecturally. Like, the Prince Edward looks stunning. And this looks okay. I could probably, you know what, I'd even place it there. Yeah, it's not one of my favorites. The New Amsterdam is very pretty. I love the design of this building. It feels like a classic cinema. It really feels like when you picture like old school, big style, like super cinemas in America, this is what I picture. The only thing about it is that it's very limited on space, and you know, most of that space is given to like the name of the New Amsterdam rather than something like the Broadway that manages to blend those two together a little bit stronger. Like the big poster for Aladdin is kind of shoved kind of next to the theatre a bit, which I feel like doesn't really make it as cohesive as some of these other ones, but I do like the design. I love the lights on it. I love the feeling of it. I love the architecture of it. So I do think it's higher, but not like the most high. Maybe like there? I feel like it would go just above Cabaret. Yeah, let's put it just above the August Wilson. Maybe that's a little bit lower than it should be, but no, I can have it higher. Just above the Lumpfontaine. Let's go there. No, I like the... No, I'm going back to my original placement. It's there. Like, I feel like the little touches stop it from being more around, like, above the music box for me. The Palace Theatre? That is a big old sign that just says the Palace Theatre. Do they use that sign for anything else? Like, it's just a big old black sign that just says the Palace, and you kind of get that idea from the sign right next to it that says the Palace, or the sign below it that says the Palace. Like, I feel like they've got so much more space there to play with and to dedicate to their shows. But, like, right now, from just this photo, it's just like a tiny little strip. It's like a tiny bit. Like, I don't know. Like, I like it. It looks nice. It's a very modern take on a theatre, but I feel like that little touch of, like, the thrust-up marquee still brings it in line with, like, a lot of these other ones feeling more like a theatre. But I don't know. I feel like I want more. I want more. Just like Oliver, I want more. Is here too low? I feel like I'd put it maybe just above the Minskoff here. Like, I like it. It's just I feel like there's more space to play with. I have 10 theatres left to speak about. This video is so long already. I'm going to film the rest later. So, quick transition. You won't even notice it. And see, if I hadn't said anything, you wouldn't have even noticed that I've been out for like 3 hours in the boiling hot sun. I am melting. Okay, where did we leave off? The Richard Rogers Theatre. I mean, it's quite pretty, isn't it? I think that the curved marquee, the curved frontage looks gorgeous. The history is happening in Manhattan. The doors with the patterns on them of the I think it's so iconic thanks to like the Ham for Ham shows. Maybe that's boosting up a little bit because I know the iconography. But I also love like the brick design of the front. I have those gorgeous arches. Oh my god, leading up to like the fire escape and everything, and that balcony and the actual like detail on the building. There's so much here. My lord, I didn't think this one was like that good. But like, as I'm looking at it more and more and more, this is stunning. And we haven't even spoken about the Hamilton of it all, really. Like, the logos on the front and the side look great. I love the big poster board on the side. I think that the Richard Rodgers is going to go quite high, actually. I think this could, like, very easily justify, like, being here, honestly. I know it's quite high, but I think with all of the architectural detail on the building, matched with how they've managed to pair it so perfectly with Hamilton, I think it kind of justifies that placement. Alright, next up we have the Friedman Theatre, the Samuel J. Friedman, currently owned by MTC, whose name is proudly on this building. It's quite pretty. I like a lot of this design. I think it's nice. I think it's pretty. I think a lot of these details are very gorgeous. Like, zooming in, there's so much detail on this building art and the architecture and everything. I think, like, it hasn't quite paired the design with the architecture as well as something like Hamilton has. I think it's actually more comparable to something like the James L. Jones Theatre, and my thoughts on that one, but I like the architecture of the James L. Jones more. So I think this is a high placing one. I think it's definitely above Aladdin. I think it's definitely above Aladdin for me. I feel like going just below Moulin Rouge feels right to me. I like it. I like it a lot. I think maybe I'm being too harsh because I've been looking at it. There's not really anywhere else you can kind of put up marquees, but it's like it's another one that feels quite classy. It looks very nice and very slick. Next up, we have the Schubert Theatre for Hell's Kitchen. It's a kind of a shame that they aren't using that big poster board anymore. For previous shows at the theatre, like if you look back at something like Spamalot, they had this section of the wall that was like a massive poster board for the shows in there. And now that's just kind of showing the brick underneath, which looks nice, but it's such a big space that I kind of wish they would cover it up a bit more. I feel like what it used to look like is kind of what I want it to look like now. I think the Hell's Kitchen design on it looks really nice. The yellow really pops against the building, matches really well to the classic kind of text board or whatever you call them, of like the lights, the names in lights, I guess, which are quite common in Broadway theatres. I think it has the screen in a nice place. I like the cover there as well. The decal's quite nice. It's kind of similar to the booth in a couple of ways, with like that kind of curved outside, but I think the booth looks nicer with just the poster and like the cloth poster on it. There's a name for that. The banner. The banner. It's definitely not low, but I think with how it's set up for Hell's Kitchen, I'm less favourable of it than how it was for something like Matilda or something like Spamalot. Like, if I was judging Spamalot, I think it would probably go about here, honestly. Like, pretty decent, pretty high. Without that, I'm tempted to put it here, but honestly, I quite like some of the details on the Lena Horne more. No, I like it more than the Majestic. I think some of the little touches on it, I think the colour of the marketing kind of brings it together quite well. Yeah, I think I would prefer it with a bigger poster board on there as well. Next up, the Stephen Sondheim. Again, this kind of falls in line with like a lot of these other ones that are fairly simple. I love the actual signature Stephen Sondheim on here, as I said earlier into the video. Love when the Broadway theatres do that. But I don't really like the boards. I think some other ones that we've seen look a lot nicer as well, like Six with their glitter board, like the Eugene O'Neill where they've like proper lit it up. This one, I don't know, it just kind of looks a bit, it's missing some of those really nice lights and that really nice design that kind of pulls it all together. I will say, when we're looking at design, there's some lovely details on here. That little circular coin thing, that looks gorgeous. Is that an urn? I don't know, but it looks pretty. It's more like a vase. This is very Greek. It is very Greek. I don't hate it, but it's another one where, like, there's a couple of, like, little details on here that stop me from really loving it. I do think this one kind of falls a bit lower, maybe around Chicago area. I'd say even below the Longacre, even though, like, I feel like these are quite comparable on how much they've got, like, the posters up there. I feel like this kind of feels a little bit more neat, and I like the lighting around it a bit more. Honestly, I feel like I could probably even pull it a bit lower. I just like a lot of the design on that building, which I feel like pulls it up a little bit more than, like, something like the Belasco for me. Again, another one that's fairly simple, the St. James. Currently home, well, soon to not be the home, of Sunset Boulevard, which is closing very soon. Gonna be the home of Queen of Aziles. Kristen Chenoweth back on Broadway, baby. And I like it. I like it. It's okay. It's not one that I'm, like, raving about, but I do like a lot of this design. The balcony section looks really nice. I love the greens and how they match onto the actual board of St. James. I think it makes it quite cohesive as a building. I think it looks quite nice with Sunset Boulevard on there, but it's one of those shows that doesn't have, like, a massive presence on that building. The actual architecture of the building, like, beyond the really cool balcony, is less cool. It's just kind of a building, I guess. There's some nice, like, paneling at the top that I really, really enjoy. The windows look quite nice, and they're all different shapes and different designs around them. But it's not, like, the most stunning one. I don't look at this and go, oh my god, this is gorgeous, I need a photo of it right now. I'm like, pretty. I'll go inside. Honestly, I do feel kind of similar about it to something like the Palace, but the Palace definitely has a lot more. The Burnaby Jacob, I mean, honestly, I like this around the same as I like the Stephen Sondheim. I just think the actual design of the Stephen Sondheim's a little bit nicer, but the actual poster boards and the screens on the St. James are a bit nicer. Which one pulls forward? I think the architecture kind of wins for the Stephen Sondheim here, but I place the St. James here. I do really like that balcony. I do like the joint colour scheme, but I don't know, I wish the building was doing a little bit more. Next up, we have the next simplest marquee to the circle in the square. We have Studio 54. It's like 2 poster boards. Yeah, I'm so sorry, you're second to last. Like, I can't say it looks bad, but it's not really got much going on. Like, the building, it's kind of just attached to it. Like, they don't really have the space to play with. So I do feel quite similarly about it to something like the Circle in the Square. We go to the other roundabout theatre that we have. We have the Todd Haynes Theatre. This one, I feel quite similar to this as I do Studio 54, but I think because they've got the extra board on the front, it does gain some extra points. It's got a very untheatery feel, which I'm not, like, enthralled by, but I like a lot of the paneling and everything. Like, if I kind of ignore the upper echelon of the theatre, the actual, like, bit down here looks quite nice. The sad thing about it when it's got a show on is that I don't think there's actually many references to Todd Haynes, except for the Todd Haynes Theatre sign on the door. There's not really, like, a big sign anywhere like some of these other theatres. I mean, you could look at, like, the Jacobs or even the Schubert that manages to have the theatre name onto the marquee. When they've got show on, it doesn't really look like they really have that. I mean, obviously, I'm going off photos here. Let me know if I'm wrong, and I just can't see it. So the Todd Haynes is a weird one to rank because I'm not enthralled by it. I like what it's presenting, but it kind of falls quite in line with a lot of these ones. I like it more than the Palace. I like it about as much as these ones here. I think the St. James and the Stephen Sondheim are nicer, are better, but honestly, I feel like there's quite a nice placement. I think the Palace is probably my closest comparison to it. Like, I feel I like them and dislike them for similar reasons. Okay, the Vivian Beaumont. Now, obviously, this is 3 theatres in one, and only one of them is the Broadway Theatre, but it still shares its space with those theatres. They do a really nice touch where they have, like, a neon sign for each of their shows, which does look very pretty, but especially as you can kind of tell in this photo, it's not the most photogenic. I like this space. It's not the most theatre looking space, but obviously it's not really meant to be. And it's a bit like the National, actually. It reminds me a lot of the National. Not in, like, architecture, but, like, how they lay things out. Because there's so many theatres in one, they have a lot of their main posters, like, along the side of the building as well. So, like, there are places for photos and things, but it's just... I can't help but want a little bit more. It's a hard one to compare because it's so different, and I think they do have some really nice, unique touches, but it's not one that I'm really, really loving. I think for everything, my gut says about here. I like the neon signs. I like how they managed to platform each of their spaces as well, and they have posters down there. Maybe I like it more than something like the Helen Hayes, but that is like a very traditional Broadway theatre, whereas this is not. I can't believe I'm saying this, I like it more than the Neil Simon as well. I think there, but like, I could very easily place this all along here. Like, anywhere from here to here, I feel like is a fine placement for it. It's just kind of like personal touches and trying to weigh up like what I like a theatre to look like versus what I know this space can do, which is like they don't have the ability to give you something like a Moulin Rouge. They don't have the ability to do something like Operation Mincemeat did. They don't have that. They can't let one theatre take up the entire space. It's just not what they have. So judging it with all of that and laying that all out in my head and thinking about it, I feel like placing it here is like a fair placement to go, okay, you've done some cool things with what you've got. Is it my favourite? Is it the best? No, but there you go. We're on to our final two. We have the Walter Kerr Theatre, which I think is very, very good. I love this theatre. I think this is one of the best theatres when we're speaking about mixing the theme and the architecture and everything all together into a tight little bow. This one's going to place very high. I mean, even if we put Hadestown aside for 1 second, even like the architecture of the building is so gorgeous. I love the paneling at the top. I love all these balconies and all of like the fire escape section. Gorgeous. I love the lights on the actual marquee. And I also love the unique colour of a lot of these lights. That main poster board is really, really iconic. The Walter Kerr Theatre lit up in those beautiful lights, the colours all around the border of it, in the yellows and the greens and the blues and the reds. It really stands out and it's a really unique touch without really being that different from a lot of other Broadway theatres. Not only does Hadestown look really cool up on that building, on the posters, on all these signs, on the doors and the walls and everything, but they've also added this really beautiful touch of the flower and the carnation pattern going all the way along that fire escape section. That looks stunning. And I think that just brings it all together. Is it a massive touch? No, but it's so perfectly thematic for Hadestown. It matches so well. I think this is a great way to like add a small detail to a theatre and really, really make it pop. I love this one a lot. I wouldn't say it's my favourite. Honestly, I'm surprised the booth is still number one. That may switch. I'll move things around and play with things. But I do think for me this is like top 5. I think the architecture of some of these ones are stronger, but I do like how Hadestown has kind of come onto that building. I could maybe see a world where I push it up or down one. Like, this placement kind of feels right. I'll place it here. I'll place it in 5th. I really, really enjoy it. I really, really enjoy those touches. And finally, we have the Winter Garden. It's a big sign, and I love a big sign. I'm sorry. Is it simple? Yes. But is it effective? Also yes. It shouldn't be this cool. I'm sorry. It's just a big sign. But it is. Somehow. And I'm living. Girl, I live. The Winter Garden logo looks really cool on there and the lights. I like a lot of the decal leading on. I mean, I think Mia currently in there isn't like the best use of the sign. I think if you look back at something like Beetlejuice or even the Music Man looked quite nice upon that marquee. Like, they looked stunning. The only thing I think it is kind of missing is a lot of the nice architecture. Like, I think the actual like brick design down the bottom looks quite nice. I like how a lot of the shows that go into there, they themed that actual like entrance section as well. Like, it was stripes for Beetlejuice, it's painted blue for Back to the Future. It was like a nice striking black for School of Rock, I think. I think obviously because it's had some short runners now and some shows that have kind of gone in and out, it's probably like a more classic design. I can't quite see from the image I've got. But it's a really cool building. It's nice. Yeah, I feel like, you can't get better than a big old sign. I would place this like here. I mean, I do think the architecture of the Ethel Barrymore is nicer, but obviously big old show posters beating tiny little show poster. And I also like how they put the title of the theatre on them more than they have on the Barrymore. Yeah, let's go there. let's go there. Okay, so this is the ranking so far. Now, I know the booth has been in the top spot for the entire video, but am I overhyping it? Because I think some of the ones just below it are giving it a run for its money. I can't lie. I do think it looks very, very good with the current tenants, but I do think I might be overhyping it. I would honestly move the booth down to like 4th place. And like, I do like a lot of this architecture, but definitely like now looking at it again after really comparing it to a lot of the other architecture, which I think was boosting it up for me, I like the Lyceum more. I like the Broadway's Marquee more. Like, there's a lot more on here that I like a lot more than the booth, so I feel like I'm justified bringing it down. I could even bring it down further, honestly. Like, I can you believe the thing that's been in first place this entire video is likely going to come down to, like, next to the music box? Can you believe that? I had that at the top place for so long. Why did I have it at the top for so long? I love the Broadway. I love the greens. I love the pop of it. I think Operation Mincemeat is the show at the moment that has the coolest marquee. Like, putting aside any of the buildings themselves, like, just looking at what the show has done, I really like the booth, as you saw, but not as much as I thought I did. The music box is lovely. Like, this is like a really nice top 10, I feel. A really nice top 10. I think with the rest of these, I'm happy. I'm happy. Like, there's a lot of them that I can move up and down, like, one space, like, swap them around. But this is my ranking. Oh, that was a long video. So, let me know in the comments down below, what is your favourite Broadway theatre? If you're feeling as chaotic as me and have enough time to spare, please feel free to rank every single Broadway marquee in the comments as well. Theatres are what? Subjective, so I'm sure your ranking will be very different to mine, but I mean, look at the material. All of these theatres look gorgeous. Now, when am I ranking all the West End ones and the Broadway ones together? That's the next goal. Who would win in a fight? All of the Broadway theatres versus all of the West End theatres? Let's find out. But let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below. If you did enjoy this video, please consider hitting like and subscribe. It really helps me out, helps out the channel. Here's some links to some other videos on screen right now, and a link to my Instagram if you'd like to drop me a follow over there. And a huge thank you to our members who support the channel. But that's it for me today, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!